Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I appreciate it. So, talk to me about MAE Farm.
MAE Farm, well, we'll start with the name.
I was going to ask, yeah, because it's capital M, capital A, capital E.
It's my children's names.
Oh, nice.
In their birth order: Max, Audra, Enya.
Oh, that's lovely.
And so every farm needs a recognizable name, and 3 letters is easy to remember. And May, it's kind of like the month of May.
Right.
And also you can do little phrases like, may I be your farmer, may I,
may I purchase your pork?
Right. So most people like the word may. It's easy to say, and it has pleasant connotations to it. So that's why I went with that, instead of some kind of bizarre name that wasn't very descriptive and didn't have a story. So we called it MAE Farm. We purchased the farm in 2004, and my children were not quite 2, 4, and not quite 6.
Oh, they've grown up with the farm.
They have. They've grown up on the farm, and they help me on the farm. They're working on the farm today while I'm here. They also are at the farmer's market sometimes selling, and my wife works, and so my wife and I and my 3 children, we work on the farm and pretty much do all the things needing to be done. We also adopted another child later on. His name is Tyler, and Tyler has helped us on the farm quite a bit, and he's even interested in coming back with us after he graduates from college. If we decide to grow the business, he's interested in that. And then my oldest child from my previous marriage, she was not with us when we bought the farm, but after she graduated from college, she came back to the farm and lived with us. So all 5 of my children are there, even though it's called MAE Farm for the 3 that were with us when we bought the farm. So it's a family affair, 5 children. Hopefully I'm going to have a bunch of grandchildren in the future, and the farm has always been set up to be a family farm. We're not as efficient as the big corporate farms. We don't borrow money at the same rate. We don't get the same price breaks on our inputs, because we don't operate at the scale which allows many large agribusinesses to have lower prices.
Right. Yeah, so, do speak to that, because that's so important. People don't understand why this meat is oftentimes more expensive. Explain to them the value of what it is that you do, and the benefits of eating your meat versus, say, conventionally raised pork.
Well, because I can't compete on price, it forces me to try harder in other areas. And so the start with, our goal is to have pork that's very delicious, easy to cook, something that if you don't have a huge amount of culinary skill, but you own a crock pot, you can take everything we have and put it in the crock pot and cook it, and it'll be good.
Perfect.
You don't have to be a gourmet foodie to have our pork taste good. Same thing with our beef. The other thing is we try to give good customer service. So we're open at the State Farmers Market in Raleigh 7 days a week till 5 every day, and we try to stay very well stocked. We don't have everything people want all of the time, but you'll never be disappointed that we don't have anything for you to buy.
Right, huge variety in your freezers, huge variety.
I normally notice that I have a better variety than most grocery stores.
Absolutely.
And that's surprising to me, that if you want a Boston butt, or you want some salted fatback, or you want a pork tenderloin, a real pork tenderloin, not just a boneless loin, but a real pork tenderloin, or even if you want to be in a kind of experimental or exploratory and cook some pork liver or a beef heart or beef tongue, you have those choices. So you can get ready-to-eat foods like some of our pre-cooked sausages, our bologna, our garlic andouille, our linguiça, our heat and serve barbecue. So you can have those convenience foods, or you can also just buy some smoked neck bones, cook in a pot of beans. So you can cover all of the bases, quick and easy, very convenient. Just a barbecue sandwich when you're in a hurry on a weeknight, or if you want to take a Boston butt and smoke it and have a really fancy meal with it later. Lots of options as far as how you can cook. And then we try to make ourselves very available to give suggestions. Because sometimes people come to me and they're very busy, and I can tell that they want to buy something. They don't know what do they want. So usually the first thing I say is, "Are you looking for something tonight?" And they say yes. So then I kind of narrow it down. And I said, "Are you looking for quick and easy or more involved?" And if they say quick and easy, I usually always say, "Well, we have barbecue." And
barbecue is often the answer, right?
It's so many times, because it's in a 1 pound package. It'll make either 8 sandwiches or 4 barbecue plates. You drop the whole package in a pot of boiling water. You boil it for 20 minutes. You serve out of the package. You have very little mess. The only thing that goes in the trash is a very small piece of plastic package. Your pot's not even dirty because you just boiled water in it. So you just dump the water out, wipe your pot off, and you're done. We also started selling coleslaw lately, made by a business called Murphy House. They are a famous brand that has been around longer than I've been alive, and they're also local out of Louisburg, where we're from. And so when you come to us now, you can get the barbecue and the slaw, to either make a barbecue slaw plate or to make your own barbecue and slaw sandwiches. So that's another thing, is over the years we've tried to add complementary products to just the meat. Most people who shop with us love meat, but they also like milk, kefir, yogurt. We also have goat cheeses. We sell freezer jams. Like if you have vegans in your life, we can supply them. We have some totally vegan fruit jams, and but we mainly go after the people who want to eat meat. We have a lot of paleo customers. We have a lot of mothers with children that they're trying to get enough protein into their diet, because the kids may be eating a lot of convenience food, so they're not getting enough protein in their diet. So if it tastes good, the kids will eat it. And many mothers buy our sausages for their children, because the sausages are very delicious. We have everything from mild breakfast sausage to linguiça to mild Italian, hot Italian, bratwurst. We have lots of different choices in sausages, and sausages are always easy to cook. Most of them are in the 6-inch length. You can either boil them, broil them, grill them, fry them, chop them up, saute them with vegetables. You have many different options with the sausages. We also serve products from other farmers, such as chicken from Oak Ridge Farm. We carry our own beef, but we also carry beef from First Hand Foods. They work with other local farmers to help get them into the Raleigh area. We have rabbit from another small farmer, and we have duck eggs, chicken eggs. We have turkeys at Thanksgiving. So in addition to our core business of providing beef and pork, we've added other options so that it makes it more convenient. If you can come in and get a gallon of milk, a pound of barbecue, a pound of breakfast sausage, maybe some chicken wings, and maybe a little bit of goat cheese. So you can kind of fill out your whole menu for proteins and dairy with us.
Yeah, MAE Farm's stall is kind of like a market within a market almost.
Yes, we work with an average of about 8 local producers. We work with 4 different dairies, chicken farmer, a couple of different egg providers, duck eggs as well. And if we had more space, we would probably offer more items. But it's an economic thing to expand and offer more capacity. It's not that we're not willing to do it. It's just it's difficult to expand because it requires a lot of money. And the past 13 months have been down. Sales have been down. There's been a lot of change in the marketplace. But recently things have picked back up again, and the quality of service and the options that we give our customers are very dependent upon how much customer support we have, because I'm not independently wealthy. My wife doesn't have an all-farm job. We didn't inherit the farm. We're still making mortgage payments. So we're very sensitive to customer flow and cash flow. So if people aren't coming in and buying from us, that means we kind of get stagnant in what we're able to offer. But as long as our business is growing and people are coming in and investing in us, we put the majority of that money right back into the business and make it better for the customer.
Fantastic. I have a couple of questions for you. One, most of your meat is frozen, and I know that a lot of people who are used to just buying at the grocery store are going to wonder, why isn't it just sitting there in a refrigerator case? So if you could speak to that for a moment so people know what to expect.
In the grocery stores, normally the meat is frozen before it gets to the grocery store. It's put in large combo containers, and the grocery stores buy that meat and it comes in, and it's easy to handle when it's frozen. And they take it out of the package and they run it through saws that slice it while it's frozen, and the friction of the sawing process starts to thaw, and then they put it in a styrofoam container with a absorbent pad which absorbs the moisture that is exuded from the meat as it thaws, and then they wrap it in cellophane, and they say fresh cut meat. So fresh cut meat is not the same as fresh meat. Our meat is fresh frozen, so when it's cut, it's packaged immediately and frozen immediately. So all of our products are frozen anywhere from 48 hours to within a week, depending on how long it takes to process. So smoked hams, bacon, sausage, those things, sometimes it takes several days of processing. And so they are not frozen quite as quickly. But meat which is frozen very soon into the processing part has higher quality when you get it home. If you purchase meat that was previously frozen and then thawed in the grocery store, and you take it home and you leave it in your refrigerator, and then you say, oh, this is going to turn bad, and you put it in the freezer, and then you thaw it out again, every time you freeze and thaw, it reduces the quality of the meat.
So supermarket meat has already been frozen once. So if you take it home and throw it in your freezer, that's freezing number 2.
Yes, and then if it's not cryovac sealed, you will get freezer burn, which is not a health issue, but it's an eating quality issue. Like it ages the meat, and sometimes you might not like that heavily aged taste, and it also dries it out a little bit, which can affect the performance when you cook it or when you eat it. The texture may be a little different than what you're looking for. You may have noticed that if you store meat at home in your freezer and you open it up, some ends, you say, oh, those ends are freezer burned, and they will look different, smell different, and cook different than the rest of the meat. They're not unsafe to eat, but they just might not be what you're looking for.
Excellent. That really answers the question, and even for me, that answers the question, because I thought that I knew, but now I know more. I didn't realize that the supermarket meat is cut frozen, like on a bandsaw or something. Yes. I mean, I've seen those saws, but it never occurred to me that that's what they were doing with them. I just thought it was like when you asked them to break something down for you once you got there. But all that breaking down has been done on the frozen meat.
Well, it allows them to be much more competitive, because when they have a person working in there, if they're paying that meat cutter maybe $15 to $20 an hour, and that person is cutting hundreds of pounds of meat in an hour and wrapping it, that's a lot cheaper than when mine is all individually cut and wrapped and sealed at the processor. It can be $1 a pound difference in cost. Mm-hmm. and that makes a big difference. And what the price point is, when you see the meat in the styrofoam container, it probably costs just maybe 15 to 20 cents to package, and mine takes anywhere from $1 to $1.50 to package. So that's a big difference per pound.
Yeah. So you're spending more money to raise the meat in the first place, and you're also spending more money on the other end.
Yes, and then the processing costs more also, because if you're running an assembly line and you're doing hundreds of hogs at a time, that's much more economical than doing 10 hogs at a time or 5 hogs at a time. Mm-hmm. So because there's a setup cost and a breakdown cost each time an animal's processed. So if you're setting up for 100 hogs and running through, your setup and breakdown cost per animal is less than when you have a small number.
Right, that makes so much sense. And these are things that we as consumers don't necessarily always think about. We're just like, oh, that meat is cheaper. Cheaper is good. Not necessarily always the case. You know, cheaper meat might be, you know, it might be easier to buy that, but you're not necessarily getting the same quality, and you're certainly not supporting your local farmer, you know, a local small farmer like you, if you're getting commodity meat. So,
we also don't use some of the strategies that commodity producers use. One strategy is to minimize animal movement, so the animals are kept in tightly confined spaces so that they don't move around too much. That affects the physical qualities of the meat and the health of the animal. The animals in those conditions oftentimes need more antibiotics. Our animals occasionally need antibiotics as well, but you don't have to use nearly as many. And another strategy that confinement producers use is antibiotics fed just to promote growth, not for health benefits, but for growth benefits, because you can suppress certain organisms in the digestive tract of the animal, which allows the animal to have more efficient growth. And the concern with that is exposing these animals to subtherapeutic antibiotics will create resistant strains of bacteria that could harm humans. Another thing is actually feeding certain growth promoters such as ractopamine, which is a beta agonist. It causes the animals to have more lean meat. The problem with that is it also makes the animals more susceptible to lameness, and if the threshold in the human diet is too high, it can cause health problems for the human also, such as high blood pressure, anxiety, inflammation of the joints. And also with beef, we don't use hormones in our beef production. The animal's body naturally produces some hormones, but we don't do any supplementation of hormones. The supplementation of hormones in beef cattle can cause sensitivity in some people if the levels are really high. Also, our animals aren't moved in large vehicles with a lot of animals crammed in together. That creates a lot of stress. When the animals are stressed prior to slaughter, that also affects the eating qualities. The meat can purge more, which means the fluids in the meat will come out, and the meat will be drier and tougher. The calmer and more relaxed you can keep the animal, then the higher the quality of the meat. Also, the processors that we use, they do a lot of hand work, so it's more expensive, but the meat is handled more carefully than meat that is run through assembly line at high speeds. And that really makes a difference in our sausages as well. When sausage is being ground, if it's ground at high speed, the machinery gets really hot and it starts to heat the sausage up as you're making it. So in the industry, they're allowed to add ice to the sausage to help keep the machinery cool, and it's not considered an ingredient, it's considered a processing aid. So when you purchase sausage in the store that has had ice added to it, you're actually purchasing water weight as well. And if you ever cook sausages and they shrink up a lot, and you say, "Whoa, these were fatty," and then once you get the meat out and you eat it and you look back in the pan and it's watery, it's not fat in there, the meat wasn't fatty, it was just a lot of water in there.
Interesting. I am learning lots of things from you today. Sounds like, you know, sitting is the new smoking for people. Same thing with the animals, right? They need to move, they need to work their muscles. That's what they were born to do. So can you describe like a day in the life of your pigs on the farm? What do they do?
They basically do what they want to do all day long.
I love it. I wish I could be a pig on here. Not the slaughter part, but the hang out and do what I want to do part. But yeah, so there's not a lot, you don't like herd them here and there. They just get to run around wherever they want to go, pretty much. Low stress, eat what they want.
They like to
roll around and
they
stuff.
like to roam, and they want to be in a big pen. They don't like to be in a small pen. And by giving them a big pen, they actually learn where everything is in the pen, and they enjoy it. They know where the food is, where the water, where the shelter, where the sun. Like this time of year, pigs start to take sun baths. Because when it gets a little bit cool, they'll lay down and let the sun just heat their bodies up, and it feels good to them, just like if we lay out in the sun. And you know, many people have forgotten this, but it's always fun in the spring and the fall to kind of lay outside in the sun and let it just heat your body up. And it's not so fun in July and August, but the pigs get to do that, and they also like to wallow in the mud. The mud, one thing I believe they actually enjoy it. I think it's pleasurable to wallow. I think they seem to actually like to wallow.
It's a fun word too. So
Yeah.
you know, who wouldn't want to wallow?
They just want to wallow in the soft, squishy mud. And you know, it's probably like people wallowing around on a soft bed. It feels good to us to lay back and recline on a soft bed. I think the soft mud does the same thing for them. And this mud acts as a sunscreen. When they get the mud all over them, it keeps the sun from burning their skin. And also they use it to scrub parasites off their body. So instead of me having to spray chemicals on them to get the parasites off, the pigs can rub them off their own. Like if a tick or a flea or a louse or a mosquito or a biting fly gets on the pig, they get in the mud and wallow around, and it makes it much more difficult for the insects to hurt them.
Wow. So happy, healthy pigs doing happy, healthy pig things equals happy, healthy meat for us and our family.